Right, so with the NBA All-Star reserves being announced yesterday, we're going to go over our reactions to the All-Star teams, and we're going to be doing this in a lens that's looking back at my current All-Star ballot and seeing where exactly I went wrong. So, with the Eastern Conference, I had Tyrese Halliburton being a starter lock, and he ended up being a starter, so I was perfect on that pick. I got Donovan Mitchell. I had him being there. I didn't know if he was going to be a starter or just a bench player, and he ended up being a bench player. But I still was correct in the fact that he was going to be an All-Star lock. Of course, I had Giannis as a starter lock, and that obviously, played out exactly how I expected it to, along with Jason Tatum and Joel Embiid. Those are the three easy picks to be some starter locks. Of course, I think Joel Embiid will probably end up missing the All Star game, so they might have to find an injury replacement for him. But as far as the voting and stuff goes, he's still, voted as an All Star lock. Bench players, I had Trey Young being an All-Star lock, which I obviously was completely wrong, and they did not have him as an All-Star, which I completely disagree with. We'll get more on that in a little bit, but like I don't understand how Trey Young averaging like 27 points and 10 assists. I don't know how that isn't an All-Star. I figured it'd be an All-Star lock. He's been playing amazing basketball all season long. I guess because their record isn't good, he just didn't get the love he deserved, which is kind of stupid in my opinion. But yeah. And next up, I had Damian Lillard. I had Damian Lillard as just squeaking in to get that last guard spot. There's plenty of guys on here that I put as just squeaking in because I had a lot of people in competition, but I did not think that Damian Lillard was going to be an All-Star starter for sure. But apparently he is. I would like to have Trey Young as an All-Star starter over Damian Lillard, but they have Dame as a starter and Trey Young not even as an All-Star. So I don't completely understand or agree with that decision. Next up here, I had Julius Randle as an All-Star lock. That ended up being correct. I had him coming off the bench. He's probably going to need an All-Star replacement as well. So that's interesting. We're going to look at that in a little bit. But I was correct that he would be an All-Star, be coming off of the bench. Same with Jaylen Brown. He was a pretty obvious All-Star lock, and obvious that he's going to come off the bench. So I got that one correct. It wasn't very difficult. Paolo Banchero, I had him just squeaking in, being an all-star. That's exactly what happened. He was the last forward spot here. He just got in at the All-Star and making his first All-Star appearance in only his second year in the league, which is really cool to see from him. Next up, we got Tyrese Maxey, who I actually predicted to just squeak in. I think a lot of people were liking that Maxey was in the All-Star game over Trey Young, but personally, I think they should have both been in it. So, like me picking Maxey here, it wasn't like me picking him over Trey Young. So, a lot of people that are going to say, Trey Young should be over like a guy like Tyrese Maxey, I disagree because I think they should both be in the All-Star game. The next up, I had Jalen Brunson just squeaking in, which is exactly what happened as well. I believe he got a lot more love than I thought he was going to get. He's going to be up there like where I had Trey Young, like an All-Star lock, kind of, because there's no debate right now whether or not Jalen Brunson should be an All-Star, which is probably a little bit of a miss on my point because I should have expected him to be more widely regarded as an All-Star. But either way, I still had him coming in here as an All-Star off the bench, and that's exactly what happened. And so we go to my people that I had just missing the All-Star game. Um, I had Kristaps Porzingis just missing, and it looks like he did just miss the All-Star game. He's a potential replacement for guys like Joel Embiid or Julius Randle. The guy like Bam Adebayo, he was the one I was kind of close on. I had him just short of making the All-Star game, and he actually ended up making it, as a wild card, or probably the last forward spot there over Paolo, and then Paolo was a wild card spot. But honestly, that's where Trey Young falls out of the lineup is because they put Jalen Brunson in as a guard, and they probably put Bam in there as the last forward, and then it was between like Paolo and Caro and a guy like Trey Young, and they decided to go with Paolo there. I like the Bam out of Bible love. I just figured because maybe he missed 10 games that maybe he's not going to get the love he deserves exactly. And I think Trey Young deserves a spot over Bam Adebayo for sure. And I definitely think he deserves it over Paolo Banchero if that is exactly what the move came down to. Because, Trey Young's had a significantly better season than either one of those players. And then yeah, their potential replacement options here are Trey Young, obviously. Kristaps Porzingis, who I mentioned already, is exactly where I expected him to be. He's on the fringe of making it, and he's going to be, one of the top replacement options here. They also got Miles Turner. I did not have him on my radar at all. So that was a little bit surprising to see that he would be there. I think a guy like Mikal Bridges or DeMar DeRozan should be in contention over a guy like Miles Turner. And then you got Derek White. I knew Derek White, have this narrative that he should potentially be an All-Star, but like I just don't buy. I would rather give it to Mikal Bridges, DeMar DeRozan, certainly Kristaps Porzingis and Trey Young over him. I'd rather give it to Jimmy Butler. Like Derek White is not an all-star. I'm sorry. He's one of the full replacement options for these two guys. But if I had to guess, it would just come down to Trey Young, Kristaps Porzingis getting those next couple spots. So yeah, for the Western Conference, I had Luka as a starter, obviously starter lock. I mean, he's one of the best players in the league. I had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I didn't know if he was going to be a starter. It was between him and Stephen Curry. I did get it right, so it's really good to see from me there. Got LeBron in there, obviously, as a lock. Kevin Durant. I didn't know if Kevin Durant was going to be a lock either. It's between him and a guy like Anthony Davis, but I ended up predicting that one correct. And then, of course, Jokic is going to be an all-star lock. So I got the starters perfectly over here. And the bench, I had Curry right there. I didn't know if he was going to be a starter or a bench player, but I did predict that one right. Obviously, he's going to be an all-star lock. I had Anthony Edwards. I had him just squeaking in. It was close. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he got in here like pretty comfortably, but I did think there was a few other players that were definitely in contention over a guy like Anthony Edwards. But I did get it right with putting Edwards in there. I got Anthony Davis in there, obviously. I thought he could have been a starter potentially over Kevin Durant, but I ended up predicting that one correct with having him coming off the bench. Kawhi Leonard, exactly the same thing. He's going to be an all-star. I didn't really think he had a chance to start over Kevin Durant. I figured he would be an all-star lock off the bench, and I was, correct on that. Then I had Paul George just squeaking in, which looks like exactly what happened here. So that is, something good. Haven't missed one yet. Then we come here with Domantas Sabonis. It's going to be my first miss of the Western Conference. It's pretty close, honestly. I only really missed one spot in the East, having Trey Young as an All-Star when he actually wasn't. But then ultimately, looking at the All-Star replacements, the top 14 guys on my list for the Eastern Conference going to be the exact 14 All-Stars. But then over here in the West, Domantas Sabonis, I thought he deserved a wild card spot. Look at my next guy here is Karl Anthony Towns. I think he definitely deserves it after his 62-point game that he had like last week or something. So that was actually definitely solidify his All-Star position. Right now, the debate here is going to be between Domantas Sabonis and the guy who they actually put in was Devin Booker over Domantas Sabonis, which right now, I made this video a couple weeks ago when I made my original prediction. So right now, I would probably tell you that Devin Booker should be an All-Star over Domantas Sabonis. But overall, I do think Domantas Sabonis should still be an All-Star over a guy like Paul George. So if I had to remake this right now, the only change I'm doing is putting Domantas Sabonis over Paul George, and then Devin Booker can still be an All-Star. So I was pretty close on this one, only missing one spot here. And if I had to change it, I would just take Paul George out and swap in Domantas Sabonis there. But I was pretty close. On all of my predictions for both conferences, I only missed one All-Star for each conference. So I was actually doing a pretty solid job here in my predictions that I cooked up a couple weeks ago. So that's really interesting to see that I was pretty accurate in those predictions. And yeah, that is going to be the video. They don't have replacement options here for the Western Conference. There's nobody, that is injured yet. So obviously stuff can happen between now and then. I got like a week or two until the All-Star, like 2 weeks until the All-Star game. Obviously, injuries could happen. You could get some more replacement dudes in there. But as it stands right now, nobody is injured for the West, which is really good to see. So because of that, that's the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out my other videos on this channel and support the NFL videos as well.